Hi, everyone, and welcome to the USC Viterbi School of Engineering Faculty Roundtable for the Alfred E. Mann Department of Biomedical Engineering here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering. I apologize for a little delay making your way in, but thank you so much for being here. My name is Paul Ledesma. I'm the Executive Director of Undergraduate Admission here at the Viterbi School of Engineering, and I am really happy to have some fabulous faculty here to join us to talk a little bit more about their academic department, the discipline, the curriculum, everything you can come to expect here from our biomedical engineering program. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and then I'll tell you all how this program is going to run. So this is the order that I see. I see John, I see Brent, and then I see Maral. So do you want to go in that order? John, you want to introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi there. I'm John Mai. I'm a senior lecturer in the Department of Biomedical Engineering. Regretfully, I got all of my degrees from the school across the city at UCLA. Um,
Regretfully.
I actually am trained as an aerospace engineer. I was recruited to the UCLA BME department after about 15 years in industry.
Brent?
Hi, my name is Brent Liu. I am a teaching faculty at the Biomedical Engineering Department. I too, unfortunately, regretfully had my formidable years of college and postdoc and research at UCLA, but you see that USC recruits the best faculty, even from the school across the city. Um, I specialize in imaging, medical imaging and imaging informatics. I have a lab that does research. I do mentor PhD students as well as undergrad and master's students.
Maral.
Hi everyone. I'm Maral. I'm research faculty at the Department of Biomedical Engineering. I can proudly say I had no affiliation or association with the school in discussion. My PhD studies was at the University of Minnesota, one of the coolest places in the US. So you can see how I'm excited to be in LA. And I did a postdoctoral study at Harvard University. My research is focused on developing tools for improving access to diagnostics and health. We design wearable devices, diagnostic sensors. Basically, if you've ever worked with a glucometer, we kind of design similar devices, but for a wide range of diseases.
All right. So, for all of our guests, thank you so much again for joining us today. Here's how this evening's event is going to work. I'm going to lead the first half of the discussion to talk a little bit more about the overall department, the academics, the curriculum, the research, everything you come to expect regarding biomedical engineering and all of our programs here. And then towards the latter half of the session, I'm going to open up the Q&A to all of you. So right now the Q&A is closed. Just sit tight, listen, relax, enjoy everything you can learn about the biomedical engineering department. Towards the latter half, I'll open up the Q&A, and then you can open up your questions, and then we'll have an opportunity to upvote the questions as they go. And so we will, in a democratic process, we will ask we'll answer the most popular questions first as we move on down the line. But to get us started, for anyone who'd like to jump in on this one, it's probably the simplest question that I could ask, probably a little more complicated to answer because it's going to have a detailed answer and lots of different opinions. But here's the actual thing we're looking to do. What is biomedical engineering? Let's start there. I mean, think of it this way. We've got a high school audience. Maybe they've taken biology classes, they've taken chemistry classes. What is biomedical engineering? How can we describe it in the best possible way? Carl, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, please let us know which one of us should answer. To me, biomedical engineering is you utilize any tool or theory or everything that's available in any discipline of engineering to study human health or to contribute to human health. So it's interdisciplinary, but you have freedom to choose any development in science or engineering, but to employ it for human health or in general health.
I think Maral answered that wonderfully. Just to add
Yes, please
to
do.
that is, I look at it as also an intersection between the interests of life sciences, specifically in human health, and then using engineering, the engineering discipline and the skill sets to design a tool, whatever that tool will be, to help to either improve on human health detect any new diseases or prevent any new diseases. And then on top of that, also assisting in terms of body functions. So it carries a huge breadth. Unfortunately, BME is probably one of the broadest engineering disciplines, but the good thing is if you enter it, you have a lot of different pathways that you can choose going forward.
Well, as a follow-up question, or John, did you want to jump in? Sorry, please. As a follow-up question, do you think is there a way to describe the differences between studying something like the life sciences, biology or chemistry, and biomedical engineering? What is the biggest difference? Because obviously, as a biomedical engineer, you still take a lot of life science classes.
Yeah, that is true. So you do take the life science classes, but it's infused with the engineering side of things. So you are actually training to be an engineer, but with an application in life sciences. So the math is important. The approach in terms of understanding design. These are things that you learn. So you have those core courses first to understand those basic sciences, and then from there you specialize in a specific area. So you are an engineer as you enter the program. If you're thinking like an engineer already, then this is the program for you. And then if you're interested in applying engineering skills to human health, then BME is where you will be.
My definition is similar and very practical. To my undergraduate students, I ask them a straightforward question. In English do we have different words for science and engineering? And the straightforward answer is science is about discovery and engineering is about application of technology and optimization. So at the undergraduate level, as Brent said, you're applying technology and advances in technology to recent discoveries and basically applying it to advances in clinical medicine.
All right. Great. Thank you so much. Can you each or whoever would like to get started, can we describe what the curriculum looks like? What's a typical undergraduate pathway as we go through taking these types of classes? What types of classes do they take, and what's it like to take those types of classes? And maybe you can touch on courses that you may teach as well.
So I'll start because
Please,
this one
Brian.
is a pretty tough question for
It's
all
hard.
of
It's
us.
hard. Yeah, it's hard to
Yeah,
describe. It's broad.
yeah, I am a teaching faculty, so I have a little bit of insight. Your first few years or the first 2 years are actually pretty much focused on general education courses in math and the sciences. So you'll take your calculus, you'll take your physics, you'll take your chemistry. And then interspersed among that will be some introductory courses in BME. So you'll take a BME introductory course just to kind of see where BME will take you in the future. And that class is taught by one of our professors, Professor Yan, who's really great at that. And then as you start to specialize, you may want to go into a particular area, maybe a mechanical engineering emphasis, or even an electrical engineering emphasis, or a molecular cellular emphasis. Those actually have different tracks. So electrical engineering is probably more where Professor Mousavi is actually her area, building sensors. So that's a great area in terms of that EE application. And then there's mechanical engineering applications like biomechanics. So building prosthesis, designing prosthesis, and looking at analyzing movement would be in the biomechanics area. That's one application of biomechanics. And then for molecular cellular is designing and understanding pathways of biological processes and modeling that through computational algorithms and things like that, as well as tissue engineering. So hopefully that by the time you reach your junior or senior, you'll have a pretty good idea where you want to specialize, and then your courses will go through that specific track designed for you to take those specific courses. Was that clear? Yeah. Okay.
Either of you want to touch on classes that you teach and what those classes are like?
I can go over so when I joined USC, I actually thought it would be really cool to start a new class on biosensors, and this was like same time as the pandemic. So everybody was wondering what PCR stands for or how do we detect COVID. So I do teach an undergrad class. It has a lab component too. So you're learning the theories and principles in class, but then we also go to the lab and design or see the experiments and design experiments. And at the end, the students do a project, and in that project, they usually come up with a new biosensor, a new device, and then find out an unmet need. And we basically kind of pretend like this is a venture capital meeting, and then they're pitching their devices, and then we decide, which project is going to be funded for, development further. But it's really fun to incorporate different disciplines of engineering into creating biosensors.
Most undergraduates won't see me until their fourth year. I usually teach the senior design course, which now
Yeah.
is a year-long course. Um, what happens there, sort of expanding on what Maral said, the students are broken into teams and they get to decide what they want to do for their senior project. The only real limitation is time. They need to finish it within 2 semesters, and there are some cost constraints. But basically, the students are given the opportunity to leverage what they've learned over the last 3 years. Plus, each one has developed interesting social networks, academic networks, and I encourage them to reach out to professors that they run into or labs that they currently work in and try to translate one of those into their senior design project.
So for me, I actually teach a pretty a continuum of different levels. Starting from the beginning, I actually have been teaching freshman academy for almost 10 years now, kind of nonstop. I think it took 1 year break. So I may meet you as freshmen if you decide to come to USC. And that's really just an introductory to general engineers, and I give it a little bit of a flavor for applications to BME and my particular interests. I also teach an upper division theory class on system signals and linear systems and signals, introducing one of the most powerful tools out there, the Fourier transform. If you don't know what that is, you will definitely need to use that. That will be your friend. And then in the graduate level, I teach specifically in my area of research, which is medical imaging and imaging informatics. Just understanding how images are acquired in the clinical environment and then how to handle that throughout the hospital in terms of workflow and understanding the impact of digital imaging data, what it can do for the future. So that's where we touch on a little bit of AI applications and in medicine, specifically directed towards images.
Great. What's great about a lot of the answers related to your curriculum is it kind of starts peeking into this next topic I want to get into, which is research, and which is where a lot of this leads. Can someone start with describing maybe what are the areas of research in the department, and then obviously if you are doing research areas that you like to go into a little more depth on?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
So we do have a lot of exciting different research areas. Maybe I'll cover the molecular cellular one
Sure.
and device areas, and I think Brent and John can cover the rest. But we do have these core themes, which usually has clusters of faculty that are working on different areas of that discipline, because each discipline can be quite broad. So we do have a devices, quote unquote, discipline where faculty are designing devices that do a wide range of different applications. So my specialty is designing biosensors, but we also have another faculty who's designing electrodes for stimulation. So if you've heard about Neuralink, we basically have started working on these implantable electrodes for stimulation long before Neuralink was, was famous. And then we also have another area which is called molecular and cellular engineering, which works with cells and interfacing with cells, creating tissues or organ on a chip, quote unquote, which you're studying a very complex process, manipulating the cells. And then we also kind of in the same area, we have immunoengineering. So if you've heard about CAR T therapy or new sort of therapy for cancer, that also falls under this molecular cellular engineering discipline.
Yeah, so adding on what Professor Mousavi said, on the imaging side, we do have a huge imaging component as well. They're dedicated to furthering technology in ultrasound. So we have a national world famous center there for ultrasound research. And the latest is combining ultrasound with light imaging for both therapeutic and diagnostic applications. We're also doing just taking signal data. So in this case, two-dimensional images, that's where I'm at, to do research in, computer vision, machine learning, AI. In addition to that, not just two-dimensional data, but one-dimensional signals as well. Waveforms are also using some of these same similar applications. And I believe I'm not missing anything. I hope I'm not missing. I think, yeah, I think that covers, Professor Masabi actually covered quite a few in terms of the different areas of research that we have. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. We got it. When you think of your students that you've known in the past, people that you're with right now, a lot of our students are wondering, where does this all lead? And so, can we talk about outcomes? Can we talk, and not necessarily from a data perspective, but anecdotally, where do students go on afterwards? I know we have students, grand majority go on to industry, some go on to grad school, but where do they go on to work? What are the types of things that they do afterwards? And if they go on to grad school, where do they do that? And what do they do there?
I think I've seen a lot of the undergrad or maybe master students that I work with to get jobs in leading medical device industries.
Hmm.
Medtronic and Boston Scientific, I think, are the two famous ones that employ a lot of our graduates. But I think Brent and John know this much better than me because they have more experience.
Um, like I said, by the time I see most of the undergrads, they're seniors.
Yeah.
And when they pick their senior design project, I encourage them to leverage whatever internships they had in their junior year or currently involved in their senior year, or where they want to go afterwards. So I end up collecting a lot of data points on what happens afterwards. Roughly about a third of the students will go on to some sort of clinical graduate school in terms of they go to medical school, they go to dental school, some sort of professional clinical school, pharmacy school also. Approximately another third are headed towards graduate school, perhaps continuing in biomedical engineering. Some go into electrical, some other form of engineering. Um, we've got outliers that go to law school. We've got outliers that go to the dark side business school. And then approximately the third, the remaining, a little more than a third, would get jobs and go into industry directly.
I can add a few different companies as well. We know students that go on to Abbott. We know students that go on to Edwards Life Sciences. We know students that go on into healthcare consulting like GE Healthcare. There's a lot of our biomedical engineering students also opt for the consulting side of things, and so technical consulting. And obviously, when they do technical consulting, sometimes with healthcare companies, pharmaceutical businesses as well. There's a lot that's out there that our biomedical engineers are doing in addition to those things that you mentioned, like med school and lots of opportunities. That's the one thing that's really fascinating about studying biomedical engineering is, and maybe some of you as guests are thinking this as well, which is I don't really know what I want to do. I'm kind of in between all these different areas. And I think that's what's exciting about studying biomedical engineering is that our students go on to all of those different areas. It's not a one-way path to one specific outcome. Students go in a lot of different directions. And if you're at all is just enjoying the ideas of life sciences and problem solving and the development of technology, which is, I think, one of the biggest differences, as we discussed before, related to the difference between science and engineering. This is the exciting part about it, is that there's lots of different opportunities. It's somewhat of a big trampoline that students kind of jump off of into a number of different directions, and we're excited to help them get to that point. Um, as you are looking at your discipline for our faculty here, and you're looking at this field of biomedical engineering, which frankly is one of the youngest engineering disciplines out there. It's roughly at USC, it started in the 70s, which sounds like a long time ago to our students, but this is actually a relatively young discipline and it's somewhat interdisciplinary discipline. What are you excited about in the next 5, 10 years down the road of biomedical engineering and what you see for this arena, this profession, this whole world? John, go ahead. Yeah.
As I teach my students, we basically benefit dramatically from Moore's law, which is a from electrical engineering, that the amount of transistors or computer processing speed effectively doubles every 2 years, or the price drops by half. So we are looking at the confluence of generative AI, computing, accelerating discoveries and advances in healthcare, medicine, and we're basically able to leverage all of these advances and understand how to use these for things like sequencing in the future. I just realized that this generation of students, ChatGPT has always existed for them in high school.
Yeah.
So they are very familiar with how to take advantage of generative AI to find and help them find interesting solutions to problems that we haven't even conceived yet.
Yeah, I think like around the same note, I think very well said by John. If you're right now like a high school student thinking about the future, I think a lot of people think let us go study computer science because it's the hot topic right now. But you should think about like it takes maybe 5 years to get educated. So you want to think about the market 20 years after that because that's what you're going to be employed in. I think a lot of the engineering challenges in computer science are addressed or will be addressed by the time you're in the job market. It was electrical engineering was kind of hot, like maybe, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And the human health is so complex from a molecular level, cellular level, tissue level, organ level. There is years of discovery left in this area. And we're all, as human beings, invested in health in general. So I think the future is data and then uncovering the complexity of, like biological systems. So there's a lot to discover. There will be employment for it. And there's a lot of exciting discoveries to be explored. So that's why I think BME is the major to choose and why it's really exciting.
Simply put, we will always get sick. So
Humans,
there will,
not just you, but
right,
humans. Yeah.
humans. We will always get sick. So there's always a job somewhere to help the sick. And that's what BME is a big part of, is investigating a lot of those areas. So the job opportunities will always be there as well.
What I like is that answer and all of your answers kind of tie back to our original question, which is what is biomedical engineering, and the definition of the discipline itself rationalize its existence in the future and its growth in the future. And I always like to summarize my version of the definition of biomedical engineering is that if you imagine a hospital and you take every living being out of that hospital, all the doctors, all the nurses, administrators, patients, everything that's left is biomedical engineering. Right, you've got the physical technology, you've got things that get, implanted, you got things that get attached, you've got pharmaceuticals, you've got everything that's related to health in the human body. As Professor Mousavi mentioned earlier, it's health in the human body. That's what we have. That's all we have. And so we're going to be continuing to move forward with advancing that and hopefully making life a little bit better or solving future problems that don't exist just yet. So that's definitely always in need, right? And I always like to tell potential biomedical engineers, it's so that I can live a little bit longer. Just me personally. Like the idea that you're here to get educated to help me in 20 years. That's to make me feel a little bit younger. I put a message in the chat for all of you as our guests. I've opened up the Q&A. This is your time. Please go ahead and put your questions into the chat. And as many as you want, keep asking them. And if you don't have questions, go in and see the ones that you like and upvote them for our faculty. Try not to pay attention to the Q&A. I'll manage that process, and we'll make sure that we actually get into answering them one by one. We're not going to answer them via text because for most of our students that are watching the recording, I want them to actually have the answers to these questions, and these will go away after we've gone ahead. So we're just going to jump in to this. Again, please ask your questions. Please upvote. And it looks like our first question that has gotten the most upvotes right away, they win the prize. Ank, and I cannot pronounce your last name, I apologize, but in a large university like USC, how do you ensure students have access to research and internships? It's a great question. I'll answer just very briefly, but I want you all to jump in as well. I think the first question is ensure. No one can ensure anything. Let's be very, very careful about this word ensure. That's a synonym to guarantee. And I will be very clear that us and no other university for that matter can guarantee you anything. What I can say is that this is an incredibly small atmosphere, right? When we think about this overall, the entire Viterbi School of Engineering only has an incoming class of 450 students. That's across 11 disciplines, of which biomedical engineering is one of them. This is a very small space with a lot of resources and access to opportunities. And we work incredibly hard to make sure that we're providing you access to those opportunities and resources. One of the main things is our whole career connections office that is devoted to Viterbi students. And that is devoted just to Viterbi students and making sure that we're providing you that access, providing those opportunities for employers to come visit. We have hundreds and hundreds of employers that are recruiting you as students to gain those internships and opportunities. But I will guarantee that no one will ever knock on your door and say it's time for your internship. It's an opportunity for us to send you emails, to invite you to networking opportunities, to have career counseling, to do resume reviews, to do in-person interviewing and networking in our campus. But if you don't go to those events, you don't get the internships, right? That's an important element to understand. Now, in addition to that, strong student communities, specifically in biomedical engineering, the Associated Students of Biomedical Engineers work hard on this, creating professional opportunities, working with our career connection staff. Those alums come back, they want to see more opportunities. Keep this in mind. As a private institution in a small space, one of our first jobs when we get you here is to get you out of here. Our job is to get you out of here, to get you onto that next step, and whatever that's going to be. And some of you have plans, as Professor Mai noted earlier. Some of you have different plans. You're going to go to medical school, dental school, traditional kind of engineering grad school, go on an industry. You're going to find that pathway. We're going to help you along the way. And we're only as successful as you are successful. So our job is to support you as much as possible without ever doing anything for you. So I said I was going to answer quickly, but that was a longer one. Looked like Brent, you were going to jump in on there. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to add on the research side that Viterbi also has a variety of undergraduate research programs that you can apply to that will allow you to interface with labs that you would like to do research in. And so it's a really great opportunity. In addition to that, there's also labs that are advertising that they're part of this research for undergraduate students. So those are also available, in the I'm not sure if it's in the career counseling, but I definitely know that there is an office that has those opportunities where you can go and search for them.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think in addition, you're always welcome to email the professors or the faculty that you're interested in and ask to volunteer in their lab. I mean, you can come in, you'll be mentored by grad students, and you can learn your way in research. I have undergrads from freshmen to their last year that are doing research in my lab, and they're all very productive.
Great. I've never known a student who's wanted to do research that could not do research because we have faculty that want to see you engaged like that, like these right here. So this is a great example of that. One thing I should have noted in the Q&A is that we should not be asking questions related to admission. We have plenty of admission events that focus just on admission. This is an opportunity to talk to faculty about the curriculum, about the discipline. So we're going to focus our questions on that. So just keep that in mind as we go through these questions. And again, keep asking questions, keep upvoting, push things to the top. You're in charge of this process. So we're going to go through those questions as they get pushed to the top. Autumn has the next question. I'm super excited to gain insight on the programs, and my question is, what makes a strong she says bioengineer. We're going to say biomedical engineer. What skills and fundamental mathematical and scientific knowledge is needed to succeed in your program? I'm going to briefly give a quick admission thing. One, do the work at your school that's available at your school. There's nothing specific beyond that that you need. So if you're, as long as you're engaged in the highest levels of math and science, that's all we're looking for. So if this is a question of preparation from an admission standard, nothing to really worry about. There's nothing specific. But maybe to our faculty, is there anything more philosophical about the approach of what would make someone successful versus not? Yeah, John.
Let me just quickly answer that. All of my seniors do math really well. They take exams incredibly well. I don't even wouldn't want to take an exam with them. Okay. Ultra bright, can learn things really, really quick. Here's what differentiates these successful seniors from my last 2 years of observation. Um, Biomedical engineers have a very strong sense of empathy.
Hmm.
They're not only are they great at math, are they great at science, but they really want to apply it to help improve the world for something better. And they and the ones who are successful carry that empathy all the way through their 4 years. And that's basically my 2 cents.
John, I think that's well said. I've always talked to, in my freshman academy, to the students, if you don't have passion in what you're doing in college, then it is very hard to succeed. You can go through the grind and solve the math problems, but if you don't have passion for what you are doing, then you really don't grab the full sense of what college is about. So that's really philosophically something. Find that passion.
Yeah, I think I also would like to add, you do need to be able to connect disciplines together because you may be looking at a cell. You need to pull a concept from chemistry and a concept from math and a concept from mechanical engineering and apply them together to understand that complex problem. So you do need to be able to connect disciplines together, which really requires an in-depth understanding of theories and where do these theories come from.
Yeah, it's also one of those things. I do quote Feynman, who says that nature, to paraphrase, doesn't naturally just split up a problem into biology, astronomy, mathematics. One of the questions you're gonna ask is, why do we have to take physics? Why do we have to take math? Why is there some chemistry in my future? Why is there signal processing? Why is there electrical engineering? We want to prepare you for different types of challenges in the future. We cannot anticipate all of the challenges that you will run into, but what we hope to do is make you confident that you have the basic abilities to, if you don't know it right away, to teach yourself very, very quickly the information you need to solve problems in the future.
As you all were talking, it's the ideas of empathy, the ideas of passion, the ideas of connecting the dots and problem solving in whole is, I think, a really large, interesting difference between just being a biology major or just being a chemistry major. And going back to that question that we talked about earlier, which is what is the main differences? And there's the ideas of discovery, which is definitely true, and the ideas of creation of technology, which is definitely true. But when it comes to college, I would say one of the biggest differences, if you're a biology major or a chemistry major, your classes kind of involve memorization, right? This is a class of like, learn this, repeat this, learn this, repeat this, and who can repeat it fastest and most detailed. But a biomedical engineer doesn't worry so much about that. They get good at it, but they learn about how to put that into their tool set, imply the empathy and the passion that they have for human beings and the world around them. It's not a vacuum. It's like actual human beings that we're solving problems for, and then figure out what the next best solution is. And I think the other biggest difference between math and science and engineering, and this is kind of what I think you're all implying, is that there's actually no correct answers in engineering. There's the best possible answer given the constraints of resources or societal context. And so, how we solve, for example, a biomedical engineering problem today is going to be different for 10 years from now. Different materials, different solutions, different ideas, different things in mind. So that empathy, that passion, that connective tissue of problem solving, all that comes together. And I think that's important to understand, especially if you're looking at the ideas of biology and chemistry or life sciences and where it will go. It's the next question of where do you want to take it? Not just do you want to just keep studying the same thing? And that's, I think, the biggest difference.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Please
To
go.
interrupt, Paul, I think add another one because I'm getting so excited about just engineering in general. The another thing is that we create.
Yeah.
We create.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just memorizing and seeing phenomena that's already been observed, and we're just regurgitating what those phenomena are. We're actually taking those phenomena and trying to create something out of that. And I think as engineers, that's something that we don't really think about that much, but in reality, it's actually a big deal. We are actually building something. It may not be like whiz bang new, but it could be something that furthers whatever it is that we're
Yeah.
doing, and that's still creating.
Yeah. Yeah. And to that point, engineering technologies tend to kind of like snowball, right? It's like this thing from 5 years ago turned into this thing from 7 years ago, turned into this thing from, it just kind of keeps going and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and more impactful to the point of which those is us that just go to the doctor is like, oh, there's this new solution to this. We talk about diseases affecting grandparents that don't affect us now. All these things are big deals. So or new solutions. And engineers are always the result of that. Okay, next question from Livia. Livia, you asked, are students able to transfer into the biomedical engineering major if they're admitted into a different major? So this is kind of an admission question, but it's an important one to understand. If, first off, if you were trying to decide between something like biology or chemistry and biomedical engineering, if you're admitted to biology and chemistry, can't guarantee that you're able to transfer in. It's going to be a highly competitive process. Not a good idea. If you're at all thinking about studying engineering in any regard, you should put down the engineering major as your first choice major on the USC application because that's going to give you the most opportunities for flexibility. It gives you the opportunities to go through the curriculum as Professor Liu described earlier, this idea of starting in engineering, learning about it, whether it's right for you. And if you don't like it, you can always walk away to any other science major and still graduate on time. You can't do the reverse though. You can't start somewhere else and then hope that you're going to switch into engineering. If you do, you're going to be under a competitive admission process where we already have a full class and we only have space if someone leaves, and the opportunities to even get admitted are really limited in that regard. So what we want, and we don't want you to be behind. That's definitely another thing. So while it is possible to transfer, it's not necessarily probable. And I want to make sure that you understand that your best points of flexibility are to start in engineering. So I know that sounds counterintuitive, but putting biomedical engineering down as your first choice major in the application gives you the most opportunities to engage in flexibility in your undergraduate year. So that's the best advice I can give you. Let's move on to our next one. Sri is asking, do BME students at USC collaborate with other disciplines like computer science, environmental science, humanities, etc.? And if so, how? I'd say yes, absolutely. But do you guys have any ideas
Absolutely.
of jumping in here?
So engineers, we as engineers, when we're building and developing research, I always emphasize that we can't engineer something in a vacuum. We definitely need the expert users to guide us in terms of how it needs to be built. So for my research, and I know this is the case for almost all of our BME research, we have clinical collaborators, so doctors, in my case, radiologists, who have ideas and thoughts about how they want to improve what they're doing, and they come to us with these problems, and then we collaborate with them to build what it is they need. We never build in a vacuum because the chances of whatever we're building actually having an application is almost kind of the reverse. So collaboration is always something BMEs always have. If you look at our joint faculty, we probably have the largest joint faculty list compared to all the other
Lots of
faculty
joint appointments. Yeah.
departments. Yeah, lots of joint faculty. So and you can see the proof is in the pudding with that. So.
Yeah, yeah, I would like to add, I have like close to like 7 different like MD collaborators that I work with. And then we do have collaborations across different schools from chemistry, biology to also computer science. And that is when we need further specialty for solving a problem. I think a lot of the collaborations are happening at the faculty level. I think the students work in collaborative teams. And we do have like actually undergrads from different disciplines, from chemical engineering to computer science, that are working all in the biomedical engineering lab. So that there's that collaboration. happening where the problems become a bit more specialized. We also have students from mechanical engineering backgrounds. So there is in research setting, actually different disciplines do come together, and in BME, that's very common.
Great. I'll remind everybody to keep asking questions, keep upvoting. We're going to keep going as much as possible. I'm sorry we can't answer any raised hands, so just keep asking questions into the Q&A and upvote as it goes. That's our democratic process that we're going with today. It helps everybody have the most important questions answered. My last thing that I'll add on to that last question is I think what's different about our programs than a lot of other universities is that we don't isolate students by major. I think that's important to understand. Right away, you get to know students across the engineering disciplines. You're taking courses with students from across USC, general education courses, and you're involved in student organizations, designing teams, and working together. You're friends with everybody outside of that. We don't isolate you into what I would call academic silos. We don't house by major. You know students across the board, and so just keep that in mind as you're going through this process. Is that we're a little bit different that way from some other institutions. That you have lots of opportunities to collaborate, make friends, and really know everybody across the university. Keep going in, asking questions and upvoting. Our next question is going to be from Victoria. Do BME students have access to volunteering in programs held in hospitals nearby, or is that reserved for pre-med students? Students have all sorts of opportunities to volunteer. It's not regarded based on your major. BME students tend to do that mostly because some of them are pre-med, but any other things you want. I mean, I know a lot of our BME students are very involved in, for example, the community. A lot of them get involved in the ideas of teaching health and the ideas of like local schools and getting excited about science education in local schools. You are not limited by what you want to do because your major is X. There's lots of different opportunities outside of that. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add on to that
I'm
question?
not aware of any formal programs that BME is like holding for like helping with these matching. Just the students in my group, the undergrads that were pre-med did do shadow for like our MD collaborators.
Mhm.
So in that context, it was available to them.
I would also add that I think a lot of our BME students, when they like to do research, sometimes students are doing research at the health sciences campus and also doing research at the medical school. So that maybe your term volunteering, I'm not certain exactly what you're trying to do, but I'm sure hospitals want volunteers a lot. So there's lots of opportunities to engage, and USC has a strong network of hospitals available to them. Next up is from Evan. Evan is asking, at what point can you begin specific based research projects for BME? Can you start as early as your freshman year? Yes, you can start as early as your first year. You can get engaged as early as your first year. It's really up to you when you get here, reaching out to faculty such as these, applying to our Curve program, which I think was mentioned before. Brent, I think you mentioned
Yes.
before. You can do that as early as your first semester. It's really up to you. Next question is from Sebastian Huang. So, how do USC BME students pick their emphases? And I'm pretty certain, Brent, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a sorting hat, right? There's a sorting hat over there in DRB, and that you actually go through
So,
and
so then the sorting hat will determine which track you belong in. You just wear
years
the
ago, it
hat.
just was a dartboard. Like you threw a dart, and then wherever it
Okay.
landed, that's how you chose your emphasis. But now it's an official sorting hat.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are three major tracks, actually four. The fourth one is we call the general BME in case
Yeah.
you're not sure what
You don't have to
specialized you
have an
want to be.
emphasis. That's the
Yeah, you
one
don't
thing
have to
everybody
have an
should know.
emphasis. Yeah. And then the three other ones are molecular and cellular, which have a more biology, a computational biology emphasis, tissue engineering. Then you have the mechanical engineering emphasis, so that's more biomechanics, also designing any type of devices that use mechanical properties. And then finally, you have the electrical engineering emphasis, which is more sensors and devices in terms of electronics. And so those are the three different specializations that you can get into.
I think what most people stress out about, high school students in general stress out about this is like, how do I do it? When do I do it? What do I need to know? And the main problem is you don't need to know that now. Not at all.
Yeah, right. So
Go ahead.
our advisor, great advisor, once you get into BME, he's not here, but if he was here, I basically would give him all the kudos. He is great. You come in, and if you decide that you want to switch your tracks, he'll guide you in terms of how that's done, what courses you may need to take, and what it looks like. You can come in as a general BME for the first 2 years and then decide you want to emphasize in another track, and he'll get you set up in terms of what that looks like. So initially, if you don't know yet, that's okay. You can even go ahead and pick a track. And if you started and you're like, I changed my mind, Krishna, our BME advisor, will be right there helping you, guiding you through what you need to do. So,
I think what's most important for all of you to know is that this process happens quite naturally. And it happens because you start taking biomedical engineering classes and you start to recognize, I like that. I don't like that. You just start going towards the things that you like. And the key point that we mentioned in the beginning is you don't have to choose a specialization. And oftentimes that's where students realize, oh, it's because I like that and that and that. I don't want to just choose that one area. Maybe I want to do that signals class. I want to do that mechanics class. I want to go over there and understand a little bit more about that molecular cellular emphasis or a little more of that life sciences. It's really up to you. I will say that if you are going or thinking about the pre-med track, most of those students are going molecular cellular because that's going to build in all of your pre-med prerequisites kind of into the program, so you don't have to do much work beyond that. You just kind of go down that track and you're fully prepared and very successful down that medical school pathway. But it's really just a question of what you gravitate towards. And I don't want you to, I'm not trying to dismiss it as like, don't worry about it, but I do want you to say, I want you to realize you don't need to worry about it. It's an experiential process, and you will start to feel a lot better as you're going through year one, year two of these classes. You start to recognize, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and it'll all make a lot of sense. And as Professor Liu mentioned, our advisors are there to help you along the way. So we're good to go.
Yeah, I think another good way to decide is you actually can do volunteer research in labs with
Mm.
different specialties, and that gives you a flavor of what the day-to-day life is in those specialties.
It's great too. I will also tell you too, y'all, this is another common misconception about engineering degree programs is that choosing a particular pathway is locking you into a particular future. And that is not true. The ideas of studying your undergraduate degree program is about studying something that really has a good feedback loop. What's something that you like? What's something that you enjoy? Because as we've mentioned before, and I think Professor Mai was really talking about this before, is that problem solving is hard. It's hard work. And so it takes that passion, that empathy, all the things we talked about before to get through it. And so when you are successful in something, it's because you usually like the work that you're doing. And so just go towards the things that you like, and you'll end up being successful down the road. How you apply that degree program is up to you. It's not like this job requires this specific emphasis. That's not how it's going to work necessarily. Your background, your ideas, the things you learn, how you're going to apply that, that's how you're going to get hired for future jobs. And you're going to have multiple types of jobs across multiple types of careers with multiple companies. Choosing one degree program doesn't preclude any of that. So just keep that in mind. I want to go for just a few more minutes because we started a little bit late. So I hope you're all able to stay with me. I apologize for holding you over. It's completely our fault. We messed it up. I owe you all a popsicle later this week, and I will get one over to your office soon. Next question is, are BME student startups common at USC? First off, yes, startups in general are common across the board. The ideas of the entrepreneurial kind of ecosystem at USC and the Viterbi School is common across all majors. And in particular with biomedical engineering, I know a lot of students really get jazzed up about the Makeathon weekend. I don't know, does anybody have experience talking about that, or do you want me to do that? The ASBME Makeathon? I'll do it. The Associated Students of Biomedical Engineering really get engaged, and it's similar to a hackathon, for computer science people that are involved in that. A makeathon is a lot of our biomedical engineering students spend a weekend, 48 hours or so. I don't remember the exact time frame, solving some sort of problem, trying to create some sort of new technology. That the idea of the entrepreneurial spirit, make something, kind of apply it, have industry partners come in and judge those opportunities. It's a really exciting way to do that. In addition to I'm blanking on the name of the other group. Um,
Med design.
Thank you, Med Design. Do you want to talk about Med Design, or do you? But Med
Uh,
Design is focused on the ideas of design of medical technology, correct?
Well, it's a student-run club. It is basically patterned after Stanford's Met Design. And there was a question earlier about being able to participate as freshmen and as early as possible. Met Design, basically, you can join the club and start working on a real medical device. I mean, a design for a medical device starting your freshman
Yeah.
year, literally.
We have found that this is actually something that is not true at most engineering schools these days. We found that you can get into an engineering school and then you have to compete to be part of student organizations and design teams. And that is not true here at USC. Because we have such a small student body, our student orgs and design teams are begging people to come in. So you can get engaged as early as possible right away across any of those design teams, those professional organizations, those opportunities to engage and to grow here are flush. There's lots of opportunities for you to get engaged. Yeah, John,
I just want to throw out one more weird data point that I have.
you bet.
Viterbi manages a bunch of school-wide, as in university-wide competitions. We have MEPC and the Min Family Challenge. MEPC's prize is $100,000 cash. The Min Family Challenge is 50,000.
Thank you.
Um, if you got a good idea and you can get the buy-in from three or four more students, USC students, you can form a team and jump through the hoops your freshman year. I do have the data point. I was assigned as a mentor to an MFC team about 3 years ago. I did not ask them where they came from. I mean, what their background was until later. I found out they were all freshmen. Surprisingly, that team won the
Yeah,
$50,000 prize. So it's passion counts for a lot.
they beat grad students too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they beat
Yeah.
out grad students. And as I joke, Chat GPT is your friend.
All right. Next couple questions. Ronan's asking, with biomedical engineering being central to healthcare environments, are there opportunities to conduct research with USC's med school? Yes, we've already said that, so we're going to move on pretty quickly. Sanvi's asking, is there a cap or maximum to the number of first-year undergraduates admitted to the biomedical engineering program? No, not necessarily. I think what you're really asking is it harder to get into biomedical engineering as it is to other majors at USC? And that is not true. You are not changing your chance of admission. We adjust the enrollments based on the incoming applicant pool every single year, so you're not affecting your chance of admission by putting one major down over another. The hard thing you should recognize is that it's hard to get into USC, period. Less than 10% chance of admission across the board. That's something to keep in mind. We've already also answered Abby's question about going to medical school. Yes, probably our anecdotal information is about a third of our students we are going to some sort of clinical school, I think is what you said, Professor Mai. So that's medical, dental, etc. So there's a lot of students that are doing that. And if you want to do that, I will add my little personal thing. Biomedical engineering students are far more successful in going to medical school than traditional science students because traditional science students have to be that straight A student. BMEs get this is a weird stat. BMEs get admitted to med schools with much lower GPAs because they're recognized as doing a much grander bit of work. They have that problem solving skill set and more than just what we talked about before, memorizing some stats related to biology. And last, we'll make this the last question because then we can wrap up. We're getting a little repetitive here in our questions. But is it possible for biomedical engineering students to double major in another field? Yes, absolutely. If you want to do more work, go take more classes. Absolutely. We say kudos, go on and get it. And we will gladly accept tuition checks from you for as long as you want to be enrolled. So you just keep taking classes, we'll keep signing you up. But you can definitely do that. That's definitely something you want to do. And our students are definitely engaged across our campus. And you don't have to do a double major. You can do a minor, maybe take some other classes. Recognize you might satiate that feeling for taking other classes just by a couple classes here or there. Any other closing thoughts from our faculty here before we wrap things up? I know I was kind of wrapping everybody up without telling you. No? We good?
Nope. I just want to say future is BME.
The future is BME. All
I
right.
second that.
I want to use this opportunity again to thank you all, Professor Mai, Professor Liu, Professor Mousavi. I really appreciate you taking time to come into this process and to talk to our students. Thank you so much to all of our guests for joining. I truly appreciate you taking the time to join. If you missed any part of this, the recording will be up on our YouTube channel as quickly as we possibly can. If you have any further questions or would like to join us for any one of our other admission events, go to viterbiadmission.usc.edu/events or viterbi.link/events. Thank you so much, folks. Have a great rest of your evening. Bye-bye.